I never thought moving into a quiet suburban neighborhood would end with a gun pointed at my daughter's face. All she did was say no. She didn't want to join the HOA. That's it. But to the woman running this place, that one word was war. By the time I got the call, flashing lights were already painting our street red and blue. Neighbors who once smiled from behind trimmed hedges now hid behind curtains. And the so-called HOA president. She didn't realize the young woman she just threatened. Where's a sheriff's badge? So how did it all spiral this far? When we first moved into Maplewood Estates, it felt like the kind of neighborhood people dream about. Wide, tree-lined streets, identical mailboxes, perfect lawns that looked like they'd been ironed flat. It was quiet, too quiet maybe. But after years of apartment noise and city chaos, that silence felt like heaven. My daughter, Ava, had just transferred to a new department nearby. She'd recently been promoted to deputy sheriff. She wanted peace, a place to unwind after 12-hour shifts. I wanted the same thing, a fresh start. We'd lost my husband 2 years earlier, and the city was full of reminders. So, when this little cul-de-sac came up for sale, we took it. The first few weeks were almost perfect. Neighbors waved politely, though a few watched a bit too long. The lawn sparkled with uniformity. You could tell this place was managed. And then we met her, Karen Lewis, HOA president, early 50s, always in pastel sweaters and pearls, the type of smile that doesn't reach her eyes. She introduced herself one Saturday morning, clipboard in hand, the HOA logo neatly embossed at the top. "Welcome to Maplewood Estates," she said. "We like to keep our community and consistent." It sounded harmless at first, until we realized what that word really meant. Karen talked about HOA membership as if it were oxygen, not optional, not negotiable. But our home was outside the HOA boundary, a leftover property never annexed when the community expanded. We weren't legally required to join. When Ava politely declined the membership form, I could see something flash across Karen's face, not disappointment. That was the day peace became conditional. At first, it was small things. Notices tucked into our mailbox about lawn height compliance. Then, the HOA newsletter began arriving, with our house listed under community watch reminders. We hadn't broken any rules. But apparently, not joining the HOA was the biggest violation of all. The first letter came a week later. This is a friendly reminder that all residents are expected to maintain visual harmony.it wasn't signed. But everyone knew whose words they were. Ava shrugged it off. "Let them talk," she said. But soon, the reminders turned into warnings. The warnings became fines. Fines we didn't know. Each envelope landed with a heavier thud on our doorstep. Then came the cameras.it started with one at the cul-de-sac entrance, then another on a lamppost. But somehow, the only house they ever seemed to face was ours. Neighbors started to pull away, small nods, replaced by awkward silence. Someone even spray-painted "join or leave" on our driveway one night. Ava reported it, of course, but without proof, the police couldn't do much. Still, I noticed the patrol car lingered a little longer on our street after that. Karen wasn't subtle anymore. She'd walk by with her little dog every morning, clipboard in hand, pretending to check plants while staring straight into our windows. One afternoon, Ava came home early and caught Karen taking pictures of our car. "I'm documenting noncompliance." Karen said noncompliance. Word that sounded more like a threat than a rule. Ava didn't respond. She just looked at her, calm, steady, unblinking. The kind of look that makes people reveal who they really are. That night, a special HOA meeting notice appeared on the community board, titled New Membership Enforcement Policy. We weren't invited, but we didn't need to be. The next morning, someone left an HOA welcome kit on our porch, complete with a demand letter. Failure to comply will result in legal action and enforcement. Ava laughed when she saw it, but I saw the worry behind it. She knew this wasn't about law. It was about intimidation. Days later, Karen escalated again. She began calling city inspectors, reporting our yard, our fence, and our mailbox. Each report was dismissed, but the message was clear. We're watching you. Ava decided to install her own cameras, legal ones. This time, pointed outward. The next night, Karen's husband came storming down the sidewalk, shouting that we were spying on the neighborhood. Ava stood her ground. He backed off, muttering something about troublemakers who think they're above the rules. By week's end, someone slashed Ava's car tire. That was it. Ava filed a formal harassment report, not as a deputy, but as a resident. She documented everything. The HOA ignored it. Karen smirked whenever she passed us, but she didn't know the investigation had already started quietly, discreetly, through Ava's colleagues. Then came the night everything changed at IT. Was a warm Friday evening. The sun dipped behind the pines, shadows stretching long across the driveways. Ava sat on the porch, still in her deputy jacket, scrolling through reports on her tablet. That's when Karen showed up, again, only this time. She wasn't holding a clipboard. She was holding a gun. Karen's voice was shaking, but her grip wasn't. You don't belong here, she hissed. You think the rules don't apply to you? Ava froze, then stood, hands visible. Calm as stone, neighbors peeked from their blinds. No one moved. The street was silent except for the soft hum of a distant lawn. Sprinkler, you've been warned, Karen said. Join the HOA or get out before you ruin everything. And then, the unmistakable sound of a safety being switched off. Ava didn't reach for her weapon. She didn't even flinch. She simply said, steady and quiet, "You're making a mistake, ma'am." At that moment, the sheriff's SUV turned the corner, lights flashing. Ava's backup had arrived. Officers stepped out, weapons drawn, commanding Karen to drop her gun. For the first time, the iron mask on her face cracked. When they cuffed her, the reality finally hit her. The woman she had been harassing for weeks was law enforcement. The neighborhood stood frozen as they drove her away, the queen of the cul-de-sac, dethroned by her own arrogance. That night, Maplewood Estates wasn't quiet. It was electric with whispers, disbelief, and the sound of control crumbling. The neighborhood was silent for days after that night. You could still see the tire marks from the patrol cars, the same neighbors who once tattled about mailbox colors now avoided eye contact altogether. Karen was charged with assault with a deadly weapon and criminal harassment. The story hit local news within 24 hours. The video from Ava's door camera, clear as daylight, left no doubt. The HOA board tried to distance themselves. They held an emergency meeting, pretending to be shocked. But the truth was simple. They'd let Karen rule unchecked for years because she did their dirty work. Within weeks, she was removed. The HOA restructured, apologizing publicly. The new board was quieter, kinder. Meetings became about community gardens instead of control policies. Ava went back to work like nothing happened, calm, professional, unmoved. But I saw the change in her eyes. The pride, the quiet strength. She never raised her weapon that night. She didn't need to. Authority, when righteous, doesn't shout. It stands firm. Months later, the neighborhood felt different, lighter. People smiled again, real smiles this time. Kids rode bikes without whispers following them. And sometimes, when the sun set just right, I'd see Ava's cruiser turn down the lane, headlights glinting off the same mailbox where the first HOA warning once sat. She'd step out, wave, and say, "Looks quiet tonight." And I'd answer, "Yeah, the right kind of quiet." Because peace isn't silence enforced by fear. It's calm earned by courage. And that night, Maplewood finally learned the difference. Power built on fear always collapses. Some people wear control like armor. Others carry responsibility like a badge. And if you ever find yourself standing against unfair power, remember, you don't need to shout to win. You just have to stand long enough for the truth to echo.